Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the Padawan Podcast, Apocalypse Movies All Star Wars show, where we're breaking down everything from the galaxy far, far away. I am your host, Jake Berlin, aka Qui-Gon Jake, and I'm joined today by Brian and Jacob. And we're here to talk about a little bit of George Lucas stuff. Every other week on the Padawan, as it is a 2-week show, we try to bring up one major topic on the show and kind of discuss it with full spoilers and just kind of break it down, have a good conversation. And last Padawan was all about being thankful about Star Wars. We're celebrating Thanksgiving. We wanted to kind of express why we were thankful for the franchise. And this episode is going to be focused on George Lucas and whether or not he should direct a new Star Wars movie in the future, or if he would direct a new Star Wars movie if they indeed did come calling. And so we're going to break it down. First of all, should he? This is a good question because it's been 13 years since he directed a Star Wars movie. He sold the property.
That's it?
It's only been 13 years.
I feel like it's been like
05. Well, it's probably been about
long.
15 since the movie was filmed.
That's
But Revenge of the Sith came out in 05. He sold Star Wars in 2012. But in between that time, he was doing the Clone Wars with Dave Filoni. So he had a hand in Star Wars then. I'll ask this question straight up. If Lucasfilm came calling, and he thought about it, should he direct a Star Wars movie?
No, honestly.
Ooh.
I don't think he should, and I can go on forever about how much I love George Lucas.
He's the
and
creator,
what
man.
He's
the
done
creator.
for me personally, like just as far as creating Star Wars. But I don't think that I don't think he's a great director, and
Yeah.
I think he'd be the first person to tell us that. Like he directed the first one, which and that he's totally different state of mind and different. It's so long ago, right?
He was trying to prove everyone wrong too.
The thing is, like, I know he directed like American Graffiti, and people that movie's supposed to be
there's a couple
really good.
movies
I haven't
he's
seen
done.
that movie.
It's a great movie.
But like, I mean, I shouldn't say he's not a good director, but he did the prequels, and we saw what that was. Like, I don't think he's the best at working with actors and trying to get them to the best out of them. So for me, I wouldn't necessarily want him to direct because it just brings too much drama. It brings on too much pressure. If he did, everybody's going to be like, okay, if this movie sucks, they're going to just pile it on and attack him even more. And if it's great, that'd be great, but it's such a huge risk. And for me, I would love for him to be a part of the story group. And
yes.
I would love for him to have his creative ideas. And honestly, I think secretly he is not. I'm not saying he officially has a job with Lucasfilm.
He's probably a consultant.
I guarantee you at least half of the directors who have directed a Star Wars film in the new era have reached out to him and asked him for advice or ideas or just like, hey, what do you think about this idea with the Force? Like, do you think this like works or whatever? Guarantee you there's that, but I don't think he should direct one, honestly.
Yeah, this is I mean, as huge Star Wars fan, it's a pretty hard question to kind of dive into and answer, but I'm kind of with you on this one. I do think, or I don't think that he should, and there are multiple reasons for it. One, I don't think it's almost a comparison to Michael Bay taking over Transformers. You don't want one director doing them all, or having multiple hands in it, or multiple movies, I should say, because then it kind of feels too similar. But also, going off of your point is that he's not a good director. I don't think he's a good script writer.
Well, that's the thing too, yeah.
And because if you watch the prequels, sure, the movies, as far as a directing standpoint, aren't great, but the dialogue is pretty bad at times. And like you said, he's probably not great working with actors and actresses, which is a huge part of it. He may also not be the best at working with other collaborators that are on set as far as producers or camera people or the studio in general, because it was all him when he had the property. Now it's from Disney, now it's from Lucasfilm. Like, there's a lot more people involved now. It's hard to say, but I don't think he should direct one. And it's not to say, and I definitely agree with that, I do think he should be a part of the story group in some capacity, if he's not already. I've heard that he has been on set of Rogue One. He was on set of Solo, but he hasn't stepped on set of the Saga movies, which is quite interesting. He was also already on set The Mandalorian to celebrate Jon Favreau's birthday, I believe. And who knows how far into that was. But it's definitely hard to answer. But no, I don't think that he should direct one, just because Star Wars has kind of evolved past him, and as far as a directing
For
standpoint.
sure, and I will say we got to give him credit because the action scenes, the sets, the the space battles, that is part of directing.
Yes.
So
yes.
he did those things really well in the prequels, and the pod racing scene, like that's directing.
Cinematically, he's really great.
I almost kind of convinced myself to not take back my answer, but consider another option is him co-directing a film with somebody. Like him co-directing a movie with another director who's good at working with actors, but with a script written by somebody else. That's the only way I would want it to be done. And if it were to be that, I so badly want a movie set during the Clone Wars era. Yeah. It doesn't have to be called the Clone Wars or anything like that. It can just be this separate side story with like a group, like a military unit with one Jedi, and like just an army film, and have George Lucas and so-and-so co-direct it or something like that. Like George Lucas and Ron Howard direct it together or something like that.
George Lucas and Dave Filoni.
Dave
Filoni, it's got, if it's Clone Wars, Dave Filoni, because they ran the Clone Wars series together.
Yeah, I want to see what he does with the Mandalorian episode first, but I thought about that too. But I want to make sure it's somebody who can work with actors.
Follow a clone squad like the 501st Legion or something like that.
I just love that era.
You have Rex in there, and dude,
there's
Ahsoka.
There's like bad blood with that era because of the prequels.
Ahsoka.
But
I wouldn't want him near Ahsoka.
George Lucas. What if he's not directing though? It's Dave Filoni. Say it's Dave Filoni directing.
Ahsoka's Dave Filoni's character.
Yeah, so he created.
I don't know if I would want him near it.
Filoni?
No. George Lucas near Ahsoka.
Well, the thing is, if he's working with Filoni, Lucas isn't going to make any decisions revolving around Ahsoka without
Filoni. And they work together on the Clone Wars, and so
Yeah.
even though Ahsoka is technically Filoni's character, he was involved.
I've heard that George Lucas was in the writing room for the Clone Wars every single day.
Yep.
And look what they did with Ahsoka in that series. So.
But yeah, going on to your point, I do think that it would be great for him to work with someone like that. Ron Howard would be really cool to see what he's able to do with a movie that's fully his and he's not brought onto. Because the parts that, and we don't know what's his technically, but if the good parts of Solo are his, I want to see more of that.
And you can't tell me that he wasn't talking to George Lucas on a weekly basis when he was directing Solo.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So Brian, I mean, what do you think, man? Should George Lucas... I have a feeling that you're going to be on the opposite end of us. Should he direct a Star Wars movie?
No.
Oh, there you go.
I think he's too opinionated, and he would want things to be done the way he wants it to be done, because it's his baby, essentially, and the way they're going, I think he would not be able to...
Well, and that's why I don't think he's been on set of Saga movies, because he probably doesn't like the way it's been going.
Yeah. So,
and we don't know if they talk behind scenes or whatever it may be, but we see him on sets of the other stuff, but we haven't seen him on set of episode 7 or 8 yet, or even 9. So who knows? Maybe he doesn't like how they're handling stuff.
Yeah, no, I just don't. From what I've heard, he's kind of an ass a little bit, especially when it comes to like the way he wants things done. So I just think he would... I don't mind him being like a background whisperer, maybe like create ideas. I'm sure he's got hundreds of things he didn't use that he would...
Well, he's got scripts on... Because he was planning on bringing back the original cast for... 789, 30 years later. In like 06 or something like that.
Did you hear what he wanted to do, though? That crazy metachlorian thing? Yeah. How like the Force is... these small particles, like in their own little world.
Which is, I'm so happy they didn't use that. But
I didn't know that. Yeah. That just solidified my point even more.
The consultant thing is interesting, though, just because he created the Force. He created the idea behind it. He was in the writer's room of the Clone Wars, which dived deep into the Force in certain areas. Specifically, Season 6 with Yoda going on his little tangent with his arc and stuff. And so... I would not mind a director being like, hey, George, like, we're trying to figure out where to take this character with the Force. Like, where do you think this Force goes? Like, in this direction, wherever it may be. Maybe he gives an opinion. They don't have to use it necessarily, but letting his opinion get out there and being a part of the story group, that would be interesting, though, because would everyone around him in the story group concede to him? Would they, question their own answers or opinions because he's there?
Go against him or tell him no or tell him that's a bad idea. But I feel like somebody who, really knows what... Like, I feel like a Jon Favreau would be able to do that.
I think so too.
Someone
Dave
like that.
Filoni as
Exactly,
well. Yeah, definitely. Well, moving on to the second portion of the show, we talked about should he direct a Star Wars movie or Star Wars property. Let's move on to would he. Now, this is a much, much different question. Obviously, we don't know George Lucas personally, and we've haven't really seen much of him since he directed the Star Wars movie. But from what we know, would he direct a Star Wars movie if Lucasfilm came calling? Brian, go ahead and start this one off.
No.
You don't think he would?
Nope. I think he has wiped his hands clean of direction. I guarantee you he probably doesn't like the way the saga is going, and I just don't see him being like, oh yeah, let's go right back on board. I could see him doing like an episode of The Mandalorian, like as a assistant director or something, like some type of like little side thing to like get people like, oh, holy crap, he's coming back to do something. I don't think he would ever come back and take the helm of something at the speed that it's going right now. It's so far beyond, I'm sure, what he even thought.
Just imagine all of the work he has stored away somewhere. The 15-year gap from Return of the Jedi: The Phantom Menace, and then the 7-year gap from Revenge of the Sith until the time he sold it.
Well, they had the live action TV series scripts.
The 13 or Star Wars Underworld, the 1313 series.
I guarantee you, he had at least 4 outlines for 789.
Dude, the amount of stories he probably has hidden away somewhere is ridiculous. Yeah, it's crazy. I mean, what do you think, dude? Do you think he would come back and direct?
I want us to be able to argue, but no, because here's the thing, he was heartbroken after the
prequels.
Hate that he got after the prequels. And it's the reason why one of the reasons, I'm sure $4 billion helped, but one of the reasons why is because he knew Star Wars couldn't just die forever. And he didn't want to deal with that pressure of this fan base is the largest and most judgmental fan base out there for good reason because they care about it. But I don't think he wants that pressure anymore. And I don't think... And the thing is, Lucasfilm would have to give him 100% control over a film if they were to, and I don't think they're going to do that.
They would never.
So then...
Disney would never.
Yeah, they wouldn't. So at that point, it's like they're never going to come to a middle ground agreement. And I just don't think... He never wants to deal with that hate. And especially, look at the landscape today involving social media and the internet and Twitter and YouTube compared to when the prequels came out. He couldn't handle it in 2006. There's no way he can handle it. I wouldn't want to deal with it either, but there's no way he can handle it.
Imagine if the prequels were released today.
It would be insane, dude. They would get thrashed.
Yeah, no. I will say this: if they came calling for a movie, I definitely don't think he would do it. If it came for an animated movie, animated TV show, or an episode of a TV show, I definitely think he would probably consider it.
I could see that because he did animated films, like Lucasfilm did animated films before they sold to Disney.
I definitely think that he would have a possibility of directing something like that. It's interesting though because there were only 6 directors announced for The Mandalorian, right? And we don't know how many episodes are this season's gonna go. Is it just the 6? Is it 7 or 8? So Favreau does the last 2, or is it something beyond that, like 10 max or something? Are those directors doing multiple episodes, or are they all each just doing 1 episode? Are there more directors they haven't announced yet? Or is George Lucas possibly directing an episode? Are they keeping it a secret for now and then announcing it down the line? I think it's possible because Dave Filoni's executive producing. Jon Favreau, he's show running. And so those 2 guys with Lucas could be very interesting. And it would also be interesting if he did something later on in the season, because he has to follow a thread.
Yeah, for sure.
He's not creating what's going on. He has to pick up from someone else and take notes of as far as where the season's going. Because Favreau has in a season outline, he's like, I want this episode to do this episode to do this, and by the last episode, I want to be here. He has to be able to reach a certain point in an episode to get that mark TV seems like the place for him to be if he's ever going to come back, because he has to follow almost like a schedule in a way and not create something and go off tangent on his own.
Yeah, I could see that. And now that you mentioned that, I could totally see a live action. Like if they just said here, like you can do a live action series, like not Knights of the Old Republic era, but like 6,000 years ago.
Yeah, something totally different.
To like where he can have a lot of freedom, but he can't go balls to the walls like that midichlorian thing. Yeah. No way. But just like do a force, because here's the thing. A lot of the new Star Wars stuff, The Last Jedi has a lot of force in it. Like it's
the story. It's the story point. It's the entire story. It's the entire plot. Yeah.
Yes, but other than that, like it does have a presence, because Rogue One is like may the force be with you, and stuff like that. But you haven't dove into it a lot. There's not a lot of force sensitive characters around right now. So like if you just and who knows the force better than George Lucas and Dave Filoni? So like you could give him a series 6,000 years ago when the force was ripe and there's a lot of Jedi Sith, and just let him do his thing, like a 8-episode miniseries. I would love to see that, honestly, because there's nothing harmful you can do that it's going to affect the story too much in the future. I actually would really like that.
And it allows creative freedom. Like, he doesn't have to follow the guidelines.
He needs creative freedom. And the thing is, like, if he did do a show like that, he probably wouldn't direct every episode. He would basically be the showrunner, direct the pilot, and then have other people direct the
Which
episodes.
is what he did with the original movie.
Exactly.
Or the original trilogy, excuse me. He directed the first one, and then he let 2 other directors follow him.
I honestly think like that could be a huge success. If he gets a writing team of really good writers, and
Filoni, Favreau
runs it, and then directs the pilot, and then finishes it, and then like just so he can get that love back from the fans, I'd root for that.
Well, it's interesting because obviously 3 years ago we were supposed to be getting a Boba Fett movie, right? We were supposed to get that Josh Trank Boba Fett movie. It was within an hour of being released, and then they nixed Josh Trank from the stage at Star Wars Celebration. And it seems like Lucasfilm has a real interest in diving into that character. Why not use...
We all do.
Well, why not use those unfinished scripts he had of the Star Wars Underworld and have it focus on Boba Fett? Where it picks up after the Clone Wars, the TV series, before Revenge of the Sith, because in the prequel trilogy, he spent a lot of time on Coruscant. He loves that whole world of Coruscant. That entire thing can be set on the underworld of Coruscant, focusing on Boba Fett. And it's a gritty, different, creative style where he already has kind of an outline for it. And it would be very interesting because whether we're clamoring for a Boba Fett movie or not, it seems like Lucasfilm really wants to do it. And, I mean, it's there for the picking.
I forget, what's the name of the Jedi and Dark Disciple, the main character?
Quinlan Vos.
I want to see that character in live action so bad. Yeah. And if you did
I want to see that story
during that period,
you can have him.
He would be around, him and Boba Fett have a relationship, and they butt heads. And I didn't like the use of Boba Fett in that book at all. Mm-hmm. But they don't even have to make him like that in that book. But you can have them have this relationship where they work together sometimes.
There's tons of possibilities.
For sure.
Tons of possibilities. It could be very interesting. Whether or not it's going to happen, we don't know. There's plenty of time for it to happen. But on a side note, imagine the reaction just waking up on a Monday morning, 8 a.m., and you see the article, George Lucas returning to Star Wars.
People would lose their mind.
Dude. I don't know how.
Good and bad.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like, how would the reaction be? Would it be good? Would it be bad? Would it be overwhelming?
It would be what until they
found out what it was.
Figured out what it was.
I guarantee you it would be executive producer of a TV show. That's
got
what it would be. It would not be a movie.
And that's what
it would be executive producer of a TV show.
Which I'm totally fine with.
I actually want that. Now that I never thought about it that hard about George Lucas working on a live action television show. But I want it.
Here's an interesting theory, and I'm going to save this topic overall for another Padawan, but what if he did the Obi-Wan TV series?
Oh, I'm torn.
Ewan McGregor was the lead in the prequels.
And he was the
best part in the prequels.
He brought those
It can be based on Tatooine. He can throw Vader in there as well. Maybe Darth Maul or Ahsoka or something that connects to the Clone Wars series. Obi-Wan on TV with George Lucas executive producing? Ewan McGregor coming back?
I vote no.
Oh, what?
I could see that. I'm just torn because, look, I want that. Whatever they do with Obi-Wan,
You want it either
want it
way.
to be perfect.
Yeah.
But so like I'm torn. I wouldn't mind that because he created that character. That's where it all starts with
Yep.
Obi-Wan on Tatooine.
Yep.
And like who knows what it was supposed to be in his mind more than George Lucas.
You get Joel Edgerton back to play Owen Lars? Dude.
That would be awesome. I mean, if they do make an Obi-Wan movie, I guarantee you Joel
He's got to come back.
And who would have knew that like such a great actor back then you didn't know who he was.
I know, right?
Had the smallest of cameos.
The smallest of cameos.
You hear he had an interview where he said he likes to think that Owen was like a badass on the side, but like who just like held this image of
You
being a
never
farmer.
know. You
But,
never
dude,
know.
If you watch, there's a comic line where they like it's one of the Star Wars issues. Like I think it's like issue 18 or something like that. I don't even know, but where Obi-Wan, it's on the Journals of Obi-Wan.
Oh,
and it
yes,
shows
yeah.
Where there's
Yeah.
this Wookiee hunting him down. I think it's
Yes.
what's her name's Wookiee? The
Sana Staros?
no, the character who's like the Indiana Jones type character.
Oh, Dr. Afra.
I think it's
Dr.
her, that
Afra.
Wookiee that's always with her is
I
hunting
remember that
Obi-Wan
article.
down.
I remember that
and
article.
then Obi-Wan kind of like Luke comes into contact with him, and then Owen is a part of that, and they kind of fight it together. So
Yeah.
I could totally see Owen getting down, and that would make sense for like why he's like stay away from Obi-Wan. Like there's something bad happened because he's not that angry at him in the.
Dude, we just sold it.
Yeah.
Obi-Wan TV show
Like
with
you
Ewan
said,
McGregor and Joel
he should
Edgerton.
work for Lucasfilm.
It would
producers.
It'd be easy.
Story-
Real quick, before we get
story.
out of here, Brian, why do you not think that George Lucas wouldn't be good for Obi-Wan? I kind of cut you off there.
Because, again, he would want to do it exactly how he wants it.
That's fair.
And I feel like he would go back to what he maybe had thought in the past that may or may not work
Yeah,
for
no, that's.
the way things are going
I don't
right now.
disagree with you on
Because
that.
I feel like he is a very stubborn
Oh,
person
yeah,
that
yeah.
wants his way and would not really listen to other people.
That's fair.
And I guarantee you the first thing he would do would go back to the ideas he had.
That's
Which
fair.
may or may not work with fans how the way things are going nowadays. Am I opposed to seeing either of those two on screen? Hell no. Like, I would love Ewan McGregor, Joel Edgerton to be back on the screen. Now, do I think...
and Liam Neeson Force Ghost.
Yeah, or... And,
That has
oh
to,
my
because that's
God.
where we left off with Revenge of the Sith. It has to happen.
And we know he visited Obi-Wan in A New Hope when
The
Luke
book
went back to go.
Yeah, the 40 years
And
of 40
who knows,
stories.
maybe in the book next year we're going to get a little of it. Master and Apprentice.
Dude, there's so many connections just to make this work. Lucasfilm, just call us.
Yeah.
Just call us, man. Yeah, so that's going to take our Padawan today. I mean, we kind of got into some fun conversations there, talking about whether George Lucas should come back and direct Star Wars or if he would. We said no on every single one. Don't take that in the wrong way at all, because we absolutely love George Lucas for what he has done for Star Wars. He will always be the creator. He is the Star Wars. And so it's the way things happen. It's the way things happen. Not, he can create Star Wars all he wants, but he's just not the greatest director or screenwriter. So, but we would love to see him back in some capacity, whether it's executive producing or something. So
Yeah, he would be perfect for an executive producer.
he's got all that money too. He can just be like, here, do what you want with it. So never know. Leave some thoughts in the comments on what you know of the topics, though. Do you think he should come back and direct Star Wars? Do you think he would? Leave some comments out there. We will definitely get back to you on this one. Head to apocalypsemovies.com. This YouTube channel as well. Check out our Padawan anthology, where we talk about the Phantom Menace, as well as some trailer reactions, movie reviews, spoiler discussions, and much, much more here on the YouTube channel. As always, thank you for joining us here on the Padawan Podcast. Brian, Jacob, thank you for joining me on the show. And until next time, may the Force be with you.